cable. For those kids lucky enough to partake in such luxuries in the 90s and beyond, there was one particular channel we couldn't get enough of, Nickelodeon. With its wild, live-action shows and fun intro segments, who could ask for more? Among all these great perks was one shining beacon that lit up millions of children's lives, Nicktoons. Nickelodeon has had some of the best, most forward-thinking cartoons of any network. Their innovation has paved the way for animation being widely accepted by both children and adults, and creating lasting memories. So with that in mind, let's take a look at some of the splattiest, craziest, most outrageous true classic cartoons Nickelodeon has given us over the years. Let's...
You could find it if you wanted to get on it. You could find it anywhere you wanted.
What's that sound?
Hey everybody, Stickly here with Nick in the afternoon, where you pick...
That show's been off the air for like years.
Hey wait, what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, the show's been off the air for years.
Really?
Yeah, really.
No.
Yes, it has.
You gotta be joshing me, no!
Yes, it has. And I can tell you one thing, you're not Stickly.
I am Stickly.
Your voice doesn't sound like him, and your nose is kind of like an odd color. It's like kind of speckled. You're not Stickly.
I am.
No, you're not.
Am too.
Are not.
Am too.
Are not.
Oh yeah, okay, you caught me. I'm actually not Stickly. I'm actually Vic Stickly. Stickly's cousin. I just always really wanted to have my own show, you know what I mean?
No, I totally get what you're saying, but we're on YouTube, and there's copyright laws and things like that. Vic Stickly.
Oh, gee. I always just wanted to be a star and have my own show like my cousin Stick.
Okay, I get it. I get what you're saying. How about you help me out with the countdown, and we'll see where it goes from there, okay?
Do you mean it?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, that'd be great.
All right, so I'm going to get back to the countdown, and you can help me announce the cartoons, okay?
Oh man, that'd be wicked awesome.
All right.
Let's go. This is the top 10 greatest Nicktoons of all time.
Number 10, The Angry Beavers.
A title that just barely made it on the list, but this is one of the most clever, mature titles to ever air on Nick, so it deserves some recognition. The show had tons of intelligent dialogue and pop culture references that made it truly ahead of its time. Angry Beavers is an often forgotten diamond in the rough among the more classically recognized Nicktoons.
Number 9, CatDog.
What if a cat and a dog were joined together like Siamese twins to make one animal? That sounds like an interesting premise for a television show, right? Well, it wasn't, at least not for me anyhow. I do, however, see that it has its own fair share of devoted fans, so personal opinions aside, it was a passable cartoon. There were a few very good episodes on the show that actually placed it on the number 9 position on the list, surpassing the Angry Beavers, one of which being when CatDog ran into their parents. This episode tugs at your heartstrings, and it's worth a watch for sure. Personal opinions aside, CatDog was an okay addition to the Nicktoons library, but was unfortunately one of the more forgettable.
Number 8, Hey Arnold.
In terms of drama in the world of cartoons, Hey Arnold takes the cake. Hey Arnold basically emulates real life. The way things happen in this show is beyond real and relatable. Arnold was just a regular kid, living life in a world that was just an exaggerated version of our own. It got very real sometimes, but Hey Arnold didn't try to make us upset or sad, it just tried to help us get older in a more realistic way. This series wasn't just all depression and complaining and bad thoughts, it had a great amount of humor too, especially later on as the seasons progressed. So as far as grounded cartoons go, Hey Arnold is the prime example of this.
Number 7, KaBlam.
For the young comic book fan, KaBlam had its special appeal. It had a ton of different animation styles, humor, and fun. But while the sketch series had a couple of unique regular sketches, like Action League Now and Prometheus and Bob, it was pretty apparent why most members of the show's cast never earned their own television series or spin-off show, especially that Stinky Diver or Milkman. He was gross too, but KaBlam had such a different, unique format compared to most other shows at the time that it couldn't be left off this list.
Number 6, Real Monsters. Real Monsters.
Watching this show today, you can see how Aaahh! Real Monsters was fun and provided a few enjoyable hours of entertainment in the 90s. I remember being a pretty big fan of the show when I was younger. The show was basically about a ton of weird, very simplistic looking monsters living underneath a landfill on Staten Island. They would reveal themselves only to scare the bejesus out of people. Not because they were bad or anything like that, but for educational purposes. The show had a semi-unique art style and a dark feel at times, and carried with it some funny moments. But watching several episodes in a row will start to grate on your nerves.
Number 5, Doug.
Doug was a show that centered around Doug Funny, who goes through various typical life events while going to school in a town called Bluffington. Doug provides narration for each episode as he writes about the events that take place in his journal. The show, being from the perspective of the main character, also includes many imaginary sequences, most notably when Doug is a secret agent or the memorable Quail Man. This series addresses numerous topics, including trying to fit in as a kid in a new town, bullying, making friends, and trying to woo a crush, in this case Patty Mayonnaise, whose voice was very hard to deal with. Doug was a great show.
Number 4, Ren Stimpy.
Okay, so Ren and Stimpy is one of my favorites. Whether it be its gross out humor or retro-infused crazy art style, I was just completely bewildered by this show. And honestly, it was very hard not to put it at the number 1 spot. But I understand that there are a lot of people who didn't much care for the show. The show focused on the misadventures of Stimpson the cat and Ren the dog as they go about their daily lives, encountering various memorable and hilarious side characters along the way. The show pushed the limits of what was typically shown in kids' cartoons, and would have been at home on something more along the lines of Adult Swim. But regardless, it was shown in the afternoon to children, and love it or hate it, it is a Nicktoon classic.
Number 3, my buddy and pal of mine, Rocko and his modern life.
Rocko's Modern Life is often considered one of the most memorable Nicktoons. Overall, it was pure silly fun. Although each episode had a plotline, things in the world of Rocko's Modern Life were nonsensical. The show followed the daily happenings of Rocko the Wallaby and his dog Spunky as they wound up in crazy situations with pals Heifer the Cow and Filbert the Turtle. The show had copious amounts of adult humor that was written such a way that children just didn't get it, and it had also been considered by many to be a pioneer of more adult animated programs. The show is actually slated for a 1-hour television special on Nick sometime in 2017. It's just a great show. That's why, with all its zany, wacky, clever charm, Rocko's Modern Life is at number 3.
Number 2, Tommy Pickles and the Rugrats.
Rugrats is considered by many to be the best, most successful Nicktoon of all time. Others give that title to the cartoon at number 1, but no one can deny the massive footprint that this show has left on Nickelodeon's legacy. The show amassed 172 episodes over the course of 9 seasons, and was making new episodes for 13 years. Rugrats also had 3 feature-length movies and a couple spin-off shows to expand the franchise. The show had insanely creative animation and character design, and an odd but very fitting soundtrack by Mark Mothersbaugh from Devo. Sadly, the show came to an end, but there are talks of bringing it back in some form soon. This show would be at the number 1 spot if it weren't for one small yellow problem.
And finally, the moment we've all been waiting for, number 1, SpongeBob SquarePants!
SpongeBob SquarePants, simply put, is not only the most successful Nicktoon Nickelodeon has ever aired, but is also the most successful franchise it's had overall. And it isn't without good reason. Although the show has declined over the years, no one can deny how hilarious and well written the show was when it first launched onto the scene. The characters are memorable, the animation is great, and the voice acting is top notch. Not to mention the incredible songs that have come from the show, it is truly a great show. And with a new movie on the way sometime in the future, and the fact that it seems to be on every time you turn on the TV, it isn't showing any signs of slowing down anytime soon. That is why SpongeBob is at number 1. So that is my top 10 list of Nicktoons. What did you think of my selections? Do you agree? I am sure many of you will feel like I should have added great shows like Invader Zim and The Fairly Odd Parents, but you have to understand that those shows were a bit beyond my time. Although I've watched both of those shows, they just don't press that nostalgia button for me the same way that the 90s shows do. But don't hesitate to let me know what you would have done differently in the comment section below. I really want to thank you for taking the time to check out my video. And I also want to thank my special little guest, Mr. Vic Stickley, who did a wonderful job. I truly hope you enjoyed the video. If you aren't currently subscribed to my channel, please show me some love and smash that subscribe button. And maybe even give this video a like. I really would appreciate it. Anyhow, I will see you guys soon, and as always, this is Geek Dad, over and out.